So hello everyone, myself Abhi. Welcome to the third lecture of react.js series. So in today's lecture we are going to see SPA, what is SPA, single page application, and what is MPA, multiple page application. The next thing we are going to see is what is virtual DOM, and the next is what is Babel. So let's get started. So SPA means single page application. React itself is an SPA, single page application. So SPA is a web application that loads a single HTML page only once. After that, when the user navigates between different pages, the page components are updated dynamically without reloading the whole web page again. What does that mean? Let's see an example in our PC. To understand the difference between SPA and MPA, I have opened my PC and I have opened YouTube web version. And this is a single page application. How can we say that? See, there are multiple options here in the nav bar or sidebar. When we click any of one of them, we see here we see here a reloading, but it actually not reloading the whole page. It actually re-rendering the components only. See here, focus on the reload button. It's not changing at all when I am clicking any other sidebar option. Let's see, the reload is not happening here. So the reload of whole page is not happening here. So this is a single page application, SPA. LinkedIn is also an example of single page application. Why when I switch to other tabs, there is no reload, only the component is re-rendering itself, no reload. Now let's see an example of multi-page application, MPA. I have opened Amazon.com. This is a multi-page application. Let's see why. If I click any of this, focus on the reload button. Did you focus? The whole page is itself reloading. So every time when I click on the new options, it's opening a new it's opening a new HTML file itself. So that's a multi-page application. So what we were saying in YouTube example, when we open youtube.com, it initially sent a get request to the server, YouTube server, and the server responds back with a single HTML file, index.html. After that, if we click other tabs such as home, about, profile, etc., React only changes the required content. It does not request a new HTML file every time for navigation. So that's what SPA is, a single page application which loads a single HTML file only once. Now see what is an MPA. So for MP example, multiple page application, we have opened Amazon.com. So in Amazon.com, when we open the home, the browser sends a GET request to home, and the server responds back with a home.html file, which we were saying initially. Then when we click price, the browser sends a GET request to the price, and the server is again responding back with a new HTML file, completely new HTML file, that is price.html. And when we were similarly, when we were clicking sell, browser again sending a get request to /sell endpoint, and the server is again responding back with a completely new HTML file, sell.html. So this is what multiple page application. Every time we get a new page, new new HTML file, but in single page application, which only loads a single HTML file only once. So let's go to the next topic. So now see a confusing question which may arise many times in interview too. The question is, does React make HTTP requests during navigation? We have seen that React does not request a new HTML file every time during navigation. But what about the HTTP request? Yes, so yes, React may still make HTTP request, but not for a new HTML file, but for API calls. API calls. So React takes data from the API call and updates only the required component. So yes, HTTP requests are being made by React during navigation, but not for new HTML file, only for API calls. So now let's see what is virtual DOM in React. So DOM, first of all, DOM, document object model, is the browser's in-memory representation of a HTML page. Here we can say this is a HTML code. This is a HTML code, and here we can say there are different tags: body, h1, button. So what browser do when browser loads this file? It creates a tree structure in the memory, something like this. Document. The parent node of all the nodes is document itself, and all the nodes are the children nodes of this document node. Body, and we can see in the code there are two children of body tag, which is h1 and button. So two children, h1, button, and the h1 has child content as hello, and button has child content as click. So this is a tree like structure which browser automatically creates when it loads the HTML file, and JavaScript can read and modify this tree using different methods such as query selector or etc. The browser can update the web page using JavaScript, but changing the DOM structure is relatively expensive, as every small change causes the browser to repeatedly update the DOM. So here's what virtual DOM comes into the picture. Let's see what virtual DOM is. So now let's see what is virtual DOM. The name itself depicts itself that virtual, it is the copy of the real DOM. Suppose there is an example of HTML. This is h1 tag which initially contains hello, and now the state changes from hello to hello Abhi. What React does, React creates a new virtual DOM which contains hello Abhi, and React compares the old and new virtual DOM. Then it updates only that text in the real DOM, not the rebuild the everything from scratch. So for suppose here it was initially hello, and then it changes from hello Abhi. So virtual DOM says that only the Abhi is added in the content. So what it does, it does not re-renders the whole component. It only changes and added the this Abhi in the new DOM, and creates a new DOM and display on the UI of the user. So now a question comes, is virtual DOM faster than real DOM? So this question is not valid, as we cannot compare the speed of virtual DOM and real DOM, as both are itself a DOM. The virtual DOM is only just a copy of the real DOM. So there is no comparison of speed, that which one is faster. The virtual DOM only helps React minimize the expensive updates of real DOM by determining exactly what changed before touching the real DOM. So there is no meaning of comparison between the speed of virtual DOM and real DOM. So now the next topic is, what is Babel? So Babel is nothing, just a JavaScript compiler, or more specifically transpiler, that converts modern JS and JSX extension into the JavaScript code that browsers can understand. Now let's see example of modern JS and JSX and how it converts into JavaScript that browser can understand. So this is an example of modern JavaScript code. Const square arrow function which returning the square of a number. So our browsers do not understand this modern JavaScript code. So what Babel does, Babel converts this modern JavaScript into the JavaScript that is easily understandable by your browsers. Now a question arises, does Babel runs in the browser? So the answer is no. Babel runs before your application reaches the browser because it has to do the work of compilation or transpilation. Now let's see the difference between compilation and transpilation and what actually is Babel, a compiler or a transpiler. Let's see. So if we have to understand compiler, so compiler is basically do converts one programming language into other programming language, while on the other hand transpiler do one version of a language converts into another version of the same language. So now comes the question, what is Babel, a compiler or a transpiler? So specifically, Babel is a transpiler because it converting one version of JavaScript, that is modern JavaScript or JSX, into another version, that is the older version, the JavaScript version, which can be understood by the browser. So that's why Babel is a transpiler. So that's all in this video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.